My background is from a small city in Denmark called Herning, and it was like you could either work in the clothing factories or you could play ice hockey or in the slaughterhouse. And when I came back after my travel, I thought it was maybe an idea to get into the travel industry, which I did. And as a trainee, I was very good. That was so many years ago that actually at that time you were writing the flight tickets in the hand. And I was quite good at that, so I was headhunted for a bigger company in Copenhagen, the capital of Denmark, and moved to them. And that was a huge company, probably the best travel agency in Northern Europe at that time. And was very privileged to have good bosses that gave you possibility to explore, but not only explore, also come up with new ideas and new products. And at that time, it was quite new that we only had like trips for weeks, going 1 week or 2 weeks. But I thought it could maybe be a good idea to have what we call weekend breaks, going away Thursday, Friday to Sunday. And they gave me the possibility to do that, which became a success. We also thought about, at that time, to make cultural trips out to see opera, different others kind of cultural stuff. And at that time, we hired as a host or guides for the trips famous Danish persons into example with opera. Another thing was that we got the possibility to make sports trips. At that time, it was not normally that people traveled to a football game or to basketball or handball or whatever. But we started up making trips, especially for the Danish national team. And then suddenly it took really speed. And we saw ourselves having very much clients that want to go to see Premier League in England. And then slowly it developed. And from being a trainee, I very fast became a boss for that department in that company called Spies Travel. And I was there many, many years and thought, okay, this is fantastic and it's exactly what I dreamed about. But then crisis happens and banks take over or have more control of the companies. And then I got really, really frustrated about that we were very limited, and I just saw the quality in the trips and the development of new kind of tours was going down the drain. So I decided to open my own company at that time called the Travel Gallery. And of course, with my age, it was not so easy with this money it costed. So I had a good friend that I met through our trips on the football, which is a professional footballer, Brian Laudrup. And I asked him, can you please help with money for opening this? And he said, yes, I will do that. And he was a very famous Danish footballer, one of the most skilled ones we ever had. And then we had this agency called the Travel Gallery for some years. Then we went into the 2000s where internet really started. And we would like to go online with the products also, the mainstream product, if you could say it that way, that we produced, like football trips, ordinary weekend breaks. So we had more time. The idea was to have those mainstream things where we had volume, to have that sold online, so we had more time to focus on the specialities and the design or tailor-made trips for those clients who want that. And we did that, and that meant also that suddenly there was a huge company that bought us up or offered us, and we thought they were the leading at that time in the start of the 2000s in internet sales, so we sold the company to them. And after that, I found out that, then you're into a big company again, and the flexibility, the service to the clients are slowly disappearing. So that's why I opened a new company called Travel Sense. The idea was not, it seems maybe like a stupid name, but travel has to make sense in my point of view. So that was why we named that. And after a few years again, it grew, and we sold that to one of the biggest company in the world, actually TUI Travel. And then same thing happened again.
MashaAllah.
It was just going a little bit down with the quality, and I was not able to control it when it was such a big company. And then I decided again what to do now. And then I actually moved to UAE. I had an apartment here for many years, so I thought, okay, why don't move here? And I was privileged to be a period of sales manager in Emirates Holidays. And that was also like, I had the same feeling I had when I was in Spies Travel in the old days. This is an outstanding company, so many possibilities with that airline in our hands, and we had the possibility to use the branding of Emirates. And but then slowly again it happens. Maybe it's probably me who's the trouble. But again, I thought, okay, it's very big. We have extremely good clients, but I don't feel that the service level is as it should be. Because for me, travel it's quite important that we deliver the right service to our clients. You know, people are working a full year to serve up holidays. They save up money, and then it's important they get the right experience and the right service and the right advices, at least on trips. So I felt that it was time again to open a new one, and that's why the name came up, Best in Life, which probably not even is like a name, but it's just the idea I had in my head that now I will only do what I feel is the best in life into travel.
MashaAllah. Nice story, Mr. How do you ensure your clients enjoy an ultimate luxury experience?
Yeah, first of all, it's extremely important that you listen to the clients. Of course, that can be difficult in the beginning, but if you have repeat clients, as we have quite often, then you learn to their needs and what they desire are on a trip. But start asking questions into what they really want, because not many people are speaking about when they come back from a holiday. Whoa, that was a nice flight. Maybe except if we are flying with Emirates, I think it's always a nice flight. But in general, they don't speak about the transportation, and they very seldom also speak about the hotel, but they speak about the experience that they have on location. So, as I've been so many plus 40 years in the business, I thought, why are we always starting selling flights, hotel? Why don't we start doing it opposite, turning it around? What can I experience here? And then if you find the right experience for people, that could be events, it could be food, restaurants, bars, whatever they're interested in, then they also probably will have a place to stay close by that event or where they want the experience, and then also a flight. So we turned a little bit around, but to ensure that the quality of the trip is, first of all, as I told you, listen to the clients, what do they need, and then don't sell anything you not have seen or you know about that is good. And again, it's not possible for me to see all the places we are selling, but at least then I know that I have good DMCs or supply chains in those destinations.
Nice. Mr. Henrik, how would you describe Best in Life event management to our audience?
That's a company that are providing you with the best possible experience, and there's so many people that today say I got VIP treatment, but VIP treatment is a wide thing, but we have introduced MVP, which is most important person, and you need to feel yourself as the most important person when you travel with us. And that also concludes that we help you from A to Z with all the things, from checking you in on the flight so you don't have to think about that. We are seating you, sending you the boarding pass the day before, take care of everything. And also we have a 24/7 service, so you can always WhatsApp or call us regarding what to do now. Here I'm landing in Rome, or we want to have a nice dinner and we would like to have a dog, or we want to have beef, or where to go. So and that's also some things, because we're not only selling an experience or a trip, I think we also sell time. Because for many people, they use really a lot of time online to see where to go, where to stay. But if they don't know anything about it, it's very often that they just waste their time, and it will be maybe not the experience they expected. Many things is visible and transferable on the websites, but again, if people are looking specific for going out on good restaurants, and then it's not nice, or an event, then it's not nice that you are staying far away because the hotel looks good, but you didn't know about that you have to sit 45 minutes every day in a taxi, for example.
Mr. Henrik, what value guide your team in creating a personalized luxury experience?
The value, the way we teach them is, of course, including myself, that we go to those places where we have a little kind of volume and guide the clients to those places where we know it works. They are one of the best places maybe to where it can go really wrong, but it can also go really good. is Maldives, for example. Maldives, it's always nice beaches, it's nice water, but you can have a hotel for maybe 20,000 dirham a week with fully inclusive, but you can also find a hotel for 500,000 dirham. But what's the differential in that? And that you probably don't know if you've not been there, seen in, and went through that. So that's some of the ways. See the things, listen to your supply, our agents around the world, if we have not been there, because of course we cannot know everything. But if what we don't know, we will know somebody that knows that for us. And that has to be people that we trust. And for the staff itself, or for me also, it's the privilege of having happy clients coming back, happy clients that actually text us during the holiday and inform us that, wow, that was unexpected, and this is a nicer hotel than we expected. And that's the aim of the game here. We also aim to try to give people a little bit more than they feel they are paying for. And if you can sell a trip, because the quality in the trip is so good that you only have to inform about 80% of the content of the trip, then you very seldom will have complaints, because people will always be surprised. Oh, he didn't put that on the invoice. He didn't mention that. It could be small differences, like, okay, there's a transfer, maybe arrive at the hotel, they'll get a small upgrade, they will maybe have a free dinner. That's what people like, and it's simple in that way.
How has the luxury travel and events market evolved globally?
Oh, I think it's been growing really a lot the last 5, 6, 7 years, and even now it's still growing a lot. I think, as I mentioned in the beginning, people are now really valuable their holidays because it's been hard working, so they're also willing to invest a little bit more in the holiday itself by better hotels. It's not like I would define a luxury holiday just by aiming for a 5-star hotel. It has to have some meaning behind it. And we see now many different no-name resort. There's a lot of different concepts where it's really super quality and based on your personal needs. So I feel that the business is growing, actually, even it's a tough market. And even that people can book it themselves, they always are more keen on having a specific trip where all the needs are fulfilled. And that's what we are trying to give them. And many of the clients we have in that segment is actually coming because that we have delivered them now or during time, maybe a football game or concert that have been sold out. And that's a good way to get people in, because if you can help them with sold out tickets for events or sports events, then they will remember you. And if they trust you in that manner, then they will probably also trust you with the full holiday.
The difference between ordinary and extraordinary is that little extra.
We make it possible for you to explore the most exclusive travel experiences all over the world.
What makes Best in Life stand out from all the others is the fact that we'll fulfill your dreams.
We want you to travel with the highest level of personal service and attention to detail.
When you travel with us, you'll be treated as our most important person.
We take out all kind of inconveniences of travel so that you can just enjoy being there. Do you know what I really think that differentiates Best in Life from all the others? It's the network that we have built up during our 40 years in business.
We're able to take you to destinations and events that you may not otherwise be able to discover. Simply, we make the impossible possible. There is no other team of professionals that are more dedicated and more passionate about it than we are.
Our passion lies in revealing the beauty of the world through its amazing sights and events. Traveling with us allows you to enjoy life in the best possible way, but it also helps you to discover more about yourself. When our guests come back with a big smile and tell their friends all about this amazing trip and how it changed them? I mean, this is our reward, and this is what we're looking towards.
What sets Best in Life Events Management apart from other luxury companies?
That we care about you and your personal needs, and we listen to that. We have some samples on our website, but we will always create it, tailor-made it to your special needs, plus the fact that we can also take care of those things behind the scene, not just the flight, hotel, but also what you're doing, excursions, get your tables at top restaurants that actually are sold out, events when you are off on your trip. We have something we call after business, which is mainly for our business clients. But many of us have traveled endless trips to business meetings, sitting in lobbies, meetings, sitting in evenings in the room and don't know what to do. So there we are able to provide people, let's say that you are going to London, then we will always inform you about, we know you're on a business trip, but let me just inform you that there are these events, there are these concerts and things like that, or there are these football games. If you are interested, we'll be able to help you with a reservation, table reservation or a football ticket. Of course, when you have repeat clients, I would know that your interest maybe would be Liverpool, so I'll not inform you about Manchester United, for example. But that's how we personalize it compared to others. So we go a little bit more deep into the details, but those details that we, especially I, find extremely important, that adjust it to the personal needs.
Thank you for this information, Mr. What advice you would give for the new generation?
First of all, it's important that everything seems so big and so in control, and so many big agencies are there, but I will say that always believe in yourself. The bigger the companies get, the more opportunities you actually have if you have the skills or the interest in doing it to go in and do it better. So never give up, continue, and also find out where is it actually you can do a difference. For me, it has always been, in principle, just have your eyes open. Everybody have traveled, but when you arrive in the airport, what will frustrate you on the way to the plane? Can we do a difference there? When you're in the plane, are there anything we can do except the seatings? When you arrive, also some frustrations for people sometimes, but listen to all those small details and see it by yourself. And then remember also, always deliver. Never let people down. Flight can be cancelled, then you have to be able to reach you. If you book today online on many platforms and something happens, cancelled, delayed flights, you'll not be able to get hold of people. Now I'm not talking about Emirates Airlines, because for me that's a unique airline, or the Middle East airlines in general. But if you're looking at those booking engines and things like that, so everything is possible. Nothing is.
Thank you for your advice. What message would you say for the leader for UAE?
For the leader of UAE, I would say I'm extremely pleased to be living here. It's a very strange feeling for me with my background actually to ending up in a country in the Middle East. But from the day one I was here, there was something special about it. And I think the most important thing for me is that I feel that you have a freedom here to do whatever you want, as long as you behave correctly and you pay your things in time. But the business-wise, the state is yours if you are actually able to do something. And that's something that is really, really lovely, and also in a way where it's not over-administrated. It can feel a little bit difficult in the beginning for people coming from outside, but when you're in the loop here, it's actually quite simple. And of course, I'm a little bit sad that we introduced corporate tax, but still it's in a decent level. So
that's nice.
And also just the people in general, this friendly people, multicultural people, which is without any trouble at all. That's not anything I'm used to from where I'm coming from. will always be discussions about that. Next thing is we don't have those discussions here, and that I love. The way of living, the quality of living here for acceptable prices, it's outstanding. And for, of course, the weather. It's a big difference for me that I have 2 hot months, but where I'm coming from I had 6 months with dark rain and cold. So I prefer definitely to stay here, but
Yeah, that's right.
I'm really keen of having my life here. It's super nice.
That's right. Thank you, Mr. Henrik, owner of the Best in Life Events Management.
You're very welcome.
Thank you to our audience. See you in the next episode of Future of Business.